I can't wait for when you're home. There'll be wine and sweet recline. Close my eyes, see the sailors spend their pay. My heart cries, but I could never walk away. For my love comes from above. My Chanel, do you not know? No matter where you go, we'll walk hand in hand to our promised land. You open the door and my world fills up with light. I'm supposed to be cold, but I'm gonna do what's right. We'll drink wine, everything's just fine. My Chanel, do you not know? No matter where you go, we'll walk hand in hand to our promised land. Yeah. My Chanel, do you not know? No matter where you go, we'll walk hand in hand to our promised land. My Chanel, to our promised land. Hey there, folks. How are we doing? Hope we're all doing well. Hang on, I've got some weird phasing issue. I'm not quite sure what that is. Strange. Anyway, I hope that that is not a problem for anybody just now. I'm still in the throes of getting set up because I was not entirely expecting to be running the show tonight. So I do apologize. Hang on a minute. Okay, in just a second, for those of you that don't know, I'll tell you the story of why I'm running the show. Don alluded to it a little bit. It's nothing to do with his computer. It's to do with his internet. Apparently, somebody had a car crash and went straight into their internet box outside on the street and wrecked it. So his internet is down. So he sent me a message about an hour ago saying, internet is down, somebody's crashed into our junction box, can you take over tonight? And I said, sure. So I'm here and a little bit unprepared. So I hope audio is good, and I hope that I don't sound like there's two of me talking at the same time, because that's how it sounds in my headphones for some reason. So apparently AT&T are going to come down and fix his audio, fix his internet tomorrow. So hopefully we'll be able to do songwriting Wednesday on Thursday instead. So hopefully that will work. And you can never tell. It's a bit of a guess. Now, Truckee, you said you'd shared a Google document with me. I need to go find that. Did you email it to me? I'm assuming. I'll need to go check. Let me see. I think this is the one. Yep, I got it. I have it open. I can feed you the questions if you like. Yeah, that would probably help a little bit because I know there's a delay. There is definitely a delay with the chat, and particularly as I am using a slightly convoluted way round of doing things, that might work quite well. Because I'm effectively using Google Hangouts as my encoder because I cannot use OBS. I think I've said that before. For those of you who don't know, that's what I have to do. I have to use Google Hangouts to run a live stream into YouTube. So I have lots of different fiddly things open, but it's the only way I can run this. So, so there you go. Just go to Google Drive. I actually just opened it up in email, and it's there. It's fine. So we're good. It's another tab open, but that's okay. John Anderson says, does that mean there'll be a little more freedom for bad humor when the cat's away? The mice can play. I'll maybe give you a teeny weeny echo better license there, John. But you'll get some standard Scottish sarcasm in response, so expect that. Boy Booth says, AT&T is slow. It may be next week before he's up. Well, who knows? You never know. We'll just take it as it comes. We'll take it one day as it comes, and I'm in constant contact with Johnny pretty much every day anyway. So I'm sure he'll update me, and if I need to run tomorrow's show, then I will run tomorrow's show, and I will keep running the Home Studio Trainer Live broadcasts until Johnny is available and has his internet up and running and can do so. So I think that's how we will schedule it for as much as I am able to. Anyway, I will do that. Martin says, okay, folks, we need to make Johnny laugh now. Yeah, well, I think the seizure gag has been done maybe somewhat to death, but it was an absolutely hilarious gag at the time. Sarcasm from you is surely you don't jest. Well, yeah, I do. Fairly regularly. Okay, so we have 15 people in the room, and I'm just going to run up the list real quick and see who we have because I've not had a chance to have a look. So Missy is here. Hey, Missy, how you doing? Over in very lovely Ireland. I'm half Irish, so my dad is from County Cork originally, so there you go. I love Ireland. Don Hamer is here. Martin Weeks, of course. No show would be complete without Martin Weeks in it somewhere. Miles McGonigal is here. Lost Lure is here. Here. Lost Lure, you are healed. I'm kidding. I'm sure you're perfectly fine. Truckee, of course, is here. Our faithful moderator and occasional mediator. He is here. He is ever helpful and feeding me questions. Who else do we have? We have Peter, who says he has audio. And Bobby Booth is here. No show would definitely be complete without Bobby in the chat. Can he do a show without him here? John Anderson, of course, is here. He says he's a bit late. Steak and kidney pie tonight. Nice. I love me a bit of steak and kidney pie. Lovely. Dooley Still is here. We're not flying towards towers, are we? Hopefully not. This pilot is pretty good. Peter says, I know this song, bought the EP the other day. Yes, thank you very much for that, Peter. I appreciate it, and I also appreciate the tip as well. Thank you very much. I think I posted a link. I didn't actually post a link because you can't post links in the chat, unfortunately. But if you go to Nimbit Music, that's NIMBIT Music, all one word, .com/Johnny Lipsham, you will arrive magically at my Nimbit page. If you hit the store button, you will find my EP from last year. There are two versions of it. There's a deluxe version which has some extra goodies, and there's the standard version that does not. The standard version, you can pay whatever you like, or nothing at all. Have a listen to the tracks, see what you think. If you like it, pay whatever you like for it. The deluxe version is a fixed payment, but if you would like to pay some more, you can just stick a couple of extra bucks in the tip jar, and all of that is tremendously helpful. It helps me to continue to upgrade and develop the studio here so that I can do more work with you guys. So yeah, so that's the deal. Shameless plug there for me. Let me scroll down to the bottom. Bobby Booth says we'll wing it until he gets going. Yes, we will. That's exactly what we'll do. We'll make it up as we go along. Provided you guys ask some great questions and raise some good talking points that we can all get talking about, then that'll be great. Miles McGonigal says Irish half is always the biggest half. Yeah, my dad is tiny, unfortunately. He's only like 5'5", and I'm like 6'1.5" an inch. So I'm quite a bit taller than he is. But he's hilarious. If you listen to the song at the start of the show, that was Chanel from my EP. And the soprano sax there was played by my dad. He is one of these guys that plays 40 or 50 instruments obscenely well. Sometimes with next to no practice, he'll just pick it up and play it. And he mostly plays tenor and soprano saxophones, and on that occasion he was playing soprano, and a couple of other tracks on the EP he's playing tenor, which is great. Truckee says, do you have a songwriting topic you'd like to discuss tonight? Who's the drummer on my EP? I'll come back to that, Don. I kind of did and kind of didn't. I had one that I had in mind that Johnny and I could talk through, but since he's not here, that's going to make it a little bit difficult. So I think we're kind of going to chuck any preconceived notions out of the window of what I might have had in mind, and we'll just go with your questions, your ideas, and they don't have to be about songwriting. We can talk mixing, we can talk mastering, we can talk recording, we can talk your processes, we can talk gear, we can talk microphones, we can talk interfaces, we can talk anything to do with music production. Let's not limit this to songwriting. That will be for tomorrow night's show, more specifically with Johnny, providing Johnny can get up and running. If not, then we'll see about tomorrow. Speaking of Nimbit, says Peter, are those guys getting a percentage of your sales, or do you pay a fixed fee to publish? Actually, I think it's 10% that you give to Nimbit on each sale. So it's not bad. I mean, there are others out there, like Reverb Nation used to have a store, and they had this weird little commission scheme that worked, where you basically got a certain number of copies sold without having to pay a commission on it, and then I think it was the 10th one you paid a fee on it, which is all a little bit weird. And then they stopped the store inexplicably, no reason, no rhyme or reason. And I had a couple of albums on there, so that's the way it goes. I think, Don, you asked earlier, who's the drummer on my EP? The drummer is a guy called Dave Lightly. He has been my drummer for about 20 years. He is based down in London. He lives in the southeast of London, and he sends his drum tracks to me. I send him a scratch track of each of the songs, and then he does his tracks in his studio. He has a very, very nice Gretsch. No, it's not a Gretsch. It's a Ludwig 1960s Ludwig drum set with some absolutely beautiful dark Zildjian, old Zildjian K customs, not the ones that have got the big K on, but the K customs from much earlier, from like the 40s and 50s. Beautiful drum set, beautiful sound. So yeah, that's the guy. Skip says, let's just talk. Yeah, absolutely. We can do some demonstrations at the piano if we need to, or some Studio One. We can do all of that stuff. Is there a way to get a MIDI drum file into separate events? Oh, you mean yes, you can. You can explode to pitches. That's one thing you can do. Or you can multi-track out using if you're using something like Easy Drummer. I don't use Easy Drummer. I use real drummers ostensibly. But with something like the Contact player, there's a drum set that comes free with it. I forget what that drum set is called. I think it's one of the Abbey Road drum sets that you get. And you can basically assign a channel to each one of the virtual mics, if you like, in the mixer. And then it should, when you open that up in Studio One, it should then put each channel on a separate track. And I think you can do the same with Easy Drummer and Superior Drummer, something like that. Skip says multi-track out is what you want to do. Yeah, absolutely. I just can't quite remember the process of doing that because, as I say, I tend to use real guys more often than not. Or I will use a drum loop. That's the other thing I might do. Peter says Nimbit seems to be a good platform. You're not the first artist I've heard of using their services. No, Joe Gilder also has his EPs and albums and stuff there, as does Graham Cochran, two very good friends of mine. They have their stuff with Nimbit as well. Nimbit is owned, I don't know if you know, but Nimbit is owned by Presonus. Was acquired, I believe, in late 2013 and then given a facelift in 2014. And I think in version 2.6, it was even integrated into Studio One and no longer is. I'm not quite sure why that is. I'm not quite sure what the story is with Nimbit currently. I believe there are some changes coming up with it. Excuse me just a minute. I'm going to adjust my chair. Truckee says, just letting everyone know we no longer use the big blue question mark because Google Docs does not recognize it. Very good point. So please don't use the big blue question mark anymore. Barry Anderson says, trying to connect the MPC. Do you do it the same way? I don't have one of those. I don't have any drum machines. I just have this. If I'm going to do any programming whatsoever, I have this 25-year-old keyboard. It's a Yamaha QS300 workstation synthesizer, which has fallen out of a van on the way to a show. Nearly got run over by a truck. I ran out into the motorway. Motorway, I think you would call it your interstate or something like that. Your freeway, something like that. Anyway, cars travel on it about 80 miles an hour. So I got out of the van, and I ran across and picked up the keyboard just as this huge, great big juggernaut truck was heading straight towards me. I was lucky not to get squished along with the keyboard. So there you go. Fascinating story that you probably didn't want to know. Dooley still says, this is completely out of context. I would love to know the recording chain that was used for Fagen's Morph the Cat. If you know anything about it, consider discussion for a future show. Morph the Cat. I don't know Fagen's chain for that, I'm afraid. I know that he uses live drummers for all of his records, but quite often they make loops out of the tracking that they do with some of the live drummers. I think it was Keith Carlock on that record, if memory serves. And I think it was mastered by Scott Hull at Masterdisc, I think. One thing I do know, it was mastered incredibly loudly. Go listen to that. If you have something like the Ian Shepherd's Dynameter plugin, go get a couple of tracks off of Donald Fagen's Morph the Cat, whack it into Studio One, and stick the Dynameter plugin on there, and look at the dynamic range, the peak to short-term loudness number on that. It's shocking. Morph the Cat is a little bit loudness war, I'm afraid. I would love to remaster it and just dial it down a bit. The drums are really, really compressed in particular. Truckee says, all you need to do is use JL for your question. Absolutely. Any other cool questions? Let me see. I've heard John Anderson. Hey, John, good to see you, mate. He says, I have heard different opinions of saving song files, projects, etc. to an external drive versus the onboard hard drive. Any opinion on the matter? Actually, that's a really good question. And yes, I do have an opinion on that matter. Some might consider it to be a little bit of a strong one. Oh, right, Truckee, I'll go look at that in just a second. Some might consider my opinion to be quite strong, but I think it's well grounded. And Skip, if you're still in, then you can maybe correct some of my technical details on this, because I'm not really a computer person. However, what I've learned through bitter experience is that if you are constantly writing and reading to and from the same drive, aka your C drive on your computer, it can get bogged down pretty quickly and can be working harder than it needs to. Because your C drive, which is your OS drive, is also having to run the operating system as well as everything else. Any applications that are open, your C drive runs all of that along with the RAM and everything else. But if you're constantly writing, so therefore recording to that same drive, whether you're recording vocal, clarinet, tenor sax, soprano sax, vocal, whatever you're recording, then you're writing to that drive at the same time as the drive is constantly being read as well. So there are issues with that. So what I do is I have two hard drives internally on my computer. I have my C drive, which is my operating system drive, and all of my applications are on there. Studio One is on there. Chrome is on there. Camtasia for my videos is on there. All of that stuff is there. And then on my D drive, that is where all of my Studio One sessions get saved. So that when I pull open a session, like I have at the moment, I've got Chanel open at the moment. That is being read from a different drive. So my C drive is not doing any work other than the work it should be doing, which is maintaining the system and running Studio One. And it's not having to then also read Livestream, basically, audio from the same drive. It makes your computer run better. It makes your computer run faster. You get fewer audio dropouts, if any at all, and you also get a longer lifespan out of your hard drives. So there you go. I hope that answers your question. And I'm going to quickly take a look at the Google document and see what we have. Bobby Booth, is there any way to get MIDI drum file in separate events? I think we answered that one. Barry Anderson says, I have the Miko Workstation LXD Gen 5 as well. I never heard of that, to be honest. Workstations are pretty good. They were kind of the new thing when I got this. This was, this was state of the art when I got it. It looks pretty horrendous now, but at the time that I got it, it was state of the art. Sorry, I'm just flitting between screens here. And at the time, the sounds on it that are on board were really, really good. But nowadays, they are considerably dated because they are 1990s sounds. So things like the piano sounds are a bit sketchy, and the drum sounds, likewise, a bit plastic. The only ones that are really good on this, actually, are some of the guitar sounds. Some of the guitar sounds and some of the brass sounds are good on this. Not the saxophones, though. They're awful. Martin Weeks. Even though you save to the D drive, you still have to set up a Studio One folder, though, don't you? So the S1 can save the cache and the song files and so on. Yeah, yep. When you do save or save as, and you specify the location of that song, it automatically creates all of those folders for you on the drive that you've specified. So that could be an external drive, an E drive, an F drive, an H drive, double H drive. No, we won't go there. Whatever drive it might be, it creates all of that for you. And then you don't have to worry about that anymore. So every time you hit save, that song is going to save in that exact same place every time. Okay, so I just have Studio One defaulted to save all of my songs to my D drive. So all the sessions are there, all of the waveforms are there, the whole cache, the whole works. Demo some PSO. Oh, the orchestra. Yes, that's a great idea. That's a fantastic idea, Skip. Yes, I will do that. You like the shirt? Yes, it's nice. I've had this for a few years now. I don't change my wardrobe very often. All right, let me go to this. Hang on. There we go. And I want to share the screen, application window. Share. Okay, you should now be able to see Studio One. This is the Chanel song. And as you can see, not much in the way of plugins on individual channels. Most of the mix is done here with just the Pro EQ and the compressor. And there's a little bit of reverb and a little bit of delay, but there you go. That's that. I'm going to close that. And I'm going to say no. Create a new song. Empty song. And this time we want to bring in Presence. Presence is awesome. Let me just get the aging old machine fired up. And it takes a few seconds for it to start up. It's a little bit elderly. Whilst we're waiting for it to start up, I'm just going to check that you can see what I can see. Martin says, damn, I don't get to say large screen now. Yeah, sorry about that. Skip says, I've got 3 or 4. You mean these shirts? Yeah. Yeah, I like these kind of shirts. Didn't I once say the red keyboard is a synclavier? No, it's a Nord, a clavier Nord, made by, I think they're a Swedish company called Clavier. And they have a whole range of Nord keyboards. They have, I think that they have like 3 stage pianos. This is the first one they made. This is the Stage 88 Revision B, 2006. They have subsequently had Stage Piano 2. They then made specifically a stage piano that's literally just the piano sounds, without the synth and Hammond organ section. And they've, I think just a couple of years ago, they came out with a new version of this, which is a thing of beauty, but it's about £3,000. So I am not going to do that unless somebody gives me lots of money to do it. But this sounds fine, you know. It does everything I need it to do, and it still works. Go Sweden. Yes, absolutely, Peter. Go Sweden. These are a thing of absolute beauty. Love it. Okay. Let's go back to what I was doing. Which is in Studio One. See, I'm not paying attention. Let's go to, what am I going to look at first? Single articulation. I don't know what I'm going to do first, actually. There's so much to choose from. Let's go classic strings. Maybe actually we'll go to contemporary strings. I've not played around with any of this as yet, I have to say. Hardly. So I'm kind of a little bit lost as to what I'm going to do, what I'm going to look at. I'll pick a few different things in just a second. Classic strings. What was it I was looking at the other day? Oh, let's do some choir. Let's do some choir, because this is good fun. Oh, hang on. I need to press those buttons. Oh, hang on. That's probably deafeningly loud for you guys. I do apologize. Let me get the mix window open and set this up appropriately so it's not so deafeningly loud. Isn't that just gorgeous? Absolutely beautiful sound you got there in the choir. Let's try something else. Choir is absolutely lovely, and you get all sorts of different ones. Like you get this one. It's more of a humming kind of choir. Love it. I could play the choir like all day. Not seeing the instrument. Really? That's probably called. Oh, hang on. Why would that be? That's strange. I'm not quite sure why you don't see this pop up. Oh, hang on. I think I know why. Bear with me just a minute, folks. I need to change how the screen share is working. Let me just stop for a second. Hello again. I'm going to go back to sharing screens again and share entire screen. That's what I wanted to do. Share entire screen. Minimize that. Now, should be able to see that now. Hopefully. Hopefully you can see the whole screen now. If somebody could tell me whether they can see everything, including this pop-up. I think that's what it was. It was just looking at Studio One. It wasn't looking at any of the pop-ups within Studio One, which is weird. Don't quite know why that might have been. Yeah, that's what it'll be. All right, that makes sense. Kind of. I've learned something there. All right, should we try some strings? or some brass or something like that, because the choir is very, very cool. I'm trying to remember what I was looking at the other day, actually, when I was playing around with this. Was it just violins legato? I think it might have been. Okay, let's try this. No, that's not it. What was it I was playing? Where I had like the whole orchestra at my fingertips. Might well have just been this. I honestly can't remember, but I had like tons of fun playing with this. I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting that at all. Oh, that's so funny. What did I do? Oh, I see what I've done. I'm changing the key switches. Hang on. To do with this button. All right, I think maybe. No, I'm still changing the key switches. That's weird. I wasn't doing that before. I was able to play really low down. I don't know what I've done wrong exactly. I've done something. Okay, let's try that. Yeah. Oh, that's going to annoy me. Now, this wasn't happening before. Don't know why that's happening now. But anyway, they sound beautiful. I just can't figure out what I've done wrong there with it. Skip, you might be able to help me why that's happening. I'm not quite sure. But something weird is happening where I'm playing low on the keyboard and it's changing the key switches, and it wasn't doing that the last time. I don't know why. I wonder if it's the transpose on here. I thought it must have something to do with the transpose on this, but still doing it. That's so annoying. What have I done wrong? I'm not entirely sure what I've done. I've done something weird and funky. Okay, not to worry. I'll come back to that. Well, let's try this. Big string section. This might be nice. Let's try this. Oh, that's nice and low down. And I just totally made that up. I was enjoying myself. Had a little Steely Dan sound by an orchestra. Really? You want to see that? Okay. Steely Dan for strings? How about a little bit of let me think. How about a little bit of Josie? Hang on. Etc. etc. There you go. Bit of Steely Dan for orchestra. How nice. Okay, I've been asked to check the Google Doc. Okay, I'll do that. I'll need to stop sharing the screen to do that, though. Let's go back. Let's see what we got. Mining Week says, what's going on with the whirly sound? Not quite sure what that is. Find the Jan Hammer patch. Again, I don't know what that is. Is PSO stock with Studio One Presence or an add-on? It's an add-on, as Skip also says. Yep. It's an add-on. And you can really, really dig deep with it. It's awesome. I'm only scratching the surface with it at the moment. Don't you think you could? Yeah. I know. I was kind of piddling about, and I realized eventually I was on the wrong setting. I needed to be on that big strings setting, and I was just on the wrong one, and that's why it was piddling about with the key switches. Don Hamer says, in Studio One, when the plugins load at startup, I had an old plugin that says can't find license. I don't use it anymore. How can I tell Studio One not to look at it anymore? I think you probably need to delete the DLL for that plugin if you're not using it anymore, and then rescan the plugin folder without it in it, and it should, I think, clear that up. Do you also set up a separate folder on the additional drive, i.e. Studio One files, or do you just let it save to the drive? I just let it save to the drive with my song title, or if the song has a title, then I give it a title. Sometimes I might create a separate folder, like for my EP, I created on my D drive a separate folder that was called My EP. And then I just directed Studio One to save. When I did my first save, I directed it to save to that folder, and then after that, all the other songs got saved to that folder. So within that folder, there is a folder for each song that has all the cache and everything else for each song. Does anyone sell organ presets for Studio One, i.e., pipe organs and Hammond? I don't know. However, I do believe that there is a Hammond organ in Studio One. In fact, I think there might even be an add-on for it, maybe. What else do we have? It would be cool if someone knocked on my door and DNA walked in. That would be hilarious. It would prove to me that Star Trek is real and that you can just teleport from one place to another. I think I'd also scare the crap out of Johnny if I just turned up on his doorstep, knocked on his door, and said, "Right, what's for dinner then?" I'm sure that'd scare him as well. Okay, Rocky says Star Trek: Last Frontier. Do I know it? I don't know the actual titles sequence, but there is a section of it that I do know. But because it would be out of context with the movie, you probably wouldn't recognize it. But there's just this beautiful section when I think it's when is it in the Final Frontier when they are leaving Vulcan in the captured Klingon bird of prey, and just as they're about to leave, there's this beautiful. It's voiced in flutes, um, clarinets, cor anglais, and oboes with a bass clarinet playing high up in its register. And they're playing like in fourths, but in like stacks of fourths. And I'm not even sure I could play it here, but I'll try. I think the top half is kind of like up. It's much higher up than this. I'll have to pick a different sound, but and so you got like a stack of fourths up here. So you got that kind of a voicing. And I think they're just kind of oscillating between those three chords. And it's just in the background with dialogue going over the top. And I'm just like, that's just beautiful. Okay, any other questions? Buddy Martin, hey buddy, how are you? Do you need both oscillators turned on? The mod wheel here controls dynamics. Hang on, let me get my songwriting notepad out of the way. Yes, I'm working on new songs for my next EP. And Presonus Symphony Orchestra may well be on it. So this controls dynamics, so you can have it piano, forte. So you can do this nice little which is really quite cool. It's good fun to do that. A lot of stuff is getting scratched out here. Skip says, "You're out of your Vulcan mind." Yeah, I'm regularly out of my Vulcan mind. Okay, I'm going to come back to this screen and that screen. And we have been going for about just under an hour, 53 minutes, and we have 18 people here. That's awesome. That's very cool. Peter says, do you know what file format is used when pressing a vinyl, and if Studio One will let you export such a file? Vinyl? When you press to vinyl, I think it's WAV. And it would be done in a mastering studio with a vinyl lathe and cutter. So I think your master would be sent to a mastering studio as a WAV file, and they use their magical jiggery pokery and somehow or other, it gets transferred to the vinyl using a stylus and cutter, I guess. Skip Jones says, really good keyboards, brother. Yeah, thank you, mate. I really appreciate that. It's this orchestra thing is addictive, isn't it? But you know, to be able to just kind of voice things and I've had this orchestral work going on in the background that I've been writing for a number of years. It's a 3-movement work for full orchestra and jazz quartet. And as I say, I've been working on it for a number of years, and this and Notion is going to really help me bring it to life. But I have aspirations that I might get in touch with the Metropole Orchestra. I think they're out in Denmark, and they are awesome. I have seen them with Snarky Puppy. If you don't know who Snarky Puppy are, go and look them up on YouTube. They are an awesome collective band. Their band has various sizes. Sometimes it'll be an 8-piece band. Sometimes it'll be a 15-piece band. And they are a bunch of outstanding musicians from New York and Boston, predominantly. I think they're based in Boston. And they are directed by bass player, composer extraordinaire Michael League. And they did a record of Michael's compositions, I think last year or the year before. I forget what it's called now. But they did that with, oh, hang on. I think the broadcast is frozen. Are we still live? Crikey. What's happened here? If you can hear me in the chat, please let me know. I'm not sure whether I'm broadcasting anymore. Okay, Trucky says still good here. Okay, I'll carry on. That was a scary moment we had there. So, Metropole Orchestra, Snarky Puppy, they are fantastic. I forget what the name of that record is, but they're awesome. They're an amazing orchestra because they play kind of like contemporary, sort of jazz, funk, fusion, all with proper orchestral instruments. Outstanding. That record they did with Snarky Puppy was amazing. So I have aspirations that maybe I could get the Metropole Orchestra to go and play it for me. That would just be spectacular. I don't know how much that would cost though. And Martin is Facebooking me about vinyl pressing factories. You know, I have been to Abbey Road Studios in London, and they have their own pressing factory in-house, and I have seen it in action. I used to live in London. For those of you who do not know, I worked in London for 12 years as a professional freelance musician, session musician, arranger, and composer. Did all of that for 12 years in London. And I was also cutting my pro audio teeth at the same time. And so I got the chance to work on a few film scores whilst I was there. And a couple of them were recorded at Abbey Road, and one was recorded at Angel Studios, which is a little bit less famous than Abbey Road, but still a fantastic place to go and get a film score cut. But yes, Abbey Road, I have been involved in 2 film scores there. And it's a beautiful place. And whilst I was there, I got to go and have a look at all of their mastering suites as well as their mixing rooms. And I got to go and look at the studio in which the Beatles recorded, and where the control room in which their music was mixed, and all of that. Beautiful place. But further down into the depths of the building, they have mastering suites with vinyl lathes in situ. and I have watched a vinyl being cut, and it's a thing of beauty. Those guys are phenomenally skilled. Okay, Skip says, still good, still here. I haven't missed anything. Yes, you are. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Google Hangouts just basically froze on me, which is not so good. How do you go by mixing your personal project? Well, I do all of my recording, mixing, and mastering in Studio One, right here in this studio. If I'm working on my own EP, like I did last year, I built in breaks into my schedule. So when I finished the writing period, I took 2 days off and did other stuff, completely different stuff for different clients. And I basically caught up with session work for other clients. And then I came back and I started tracking. And I cut all 5 of my songs in 6 days of tracking. And then I took another few days off, went out with the family, and only popped in here to do a few things for other clients occasionally. And then I got to mixing, and I mixed the whole thing in a week, all 5 songs in a week. And then again, I took another 2-day break where I did other people's work. And then I came back and I mastered my 5-song EP in 2 nights. So the best thing to do to make sure that you preserve objectivity, because I think maybe, Barry, that's kind of the crux of your question, is how do you maintain objectivity when you're working on your work? Because, you know, you get used to hearing it a certain way. There are a number of things you can do. You can make sure you schedule in breaks so you've always got fresh ears at the start of every phase of the project. The other thing you can also do is you can also have what I call trusted ears. And that's people that I work with regularly, who know me well, who are pro audio colleagues, who can speak into my life. And, you know, I take what they say very seriously. And so I will let them have preview mixes of each song, and they will make sure that I'm on the right tracks. And they'll give me feedback, they'll give me advice, they'll give me a little bit of direction if I need it. Plus, I also reference my own songs, as well as perhaps like a vibe that I want to go for. Let's say I'm looking to go for a early 1970s kind of vibe for an EP. Then I would make sure that in my listening environment, I have lots of that kind of music on in the background. So my ears are getting used to what that sounds like. So then when I'm mixing, I'm making mixing decisions that are going to work towards that kind of a sound, because that sound more and more gets ingrained into my head, into my heart, into my soul. And then I find myself very quickly getting into mixing in that way. And that might mean that my workflow changes a little bit, that instead of using old Studio One stock plugins, maybe I'll go and use some analog emulated plugins, like some of the Wave stuff or Slate or whatever, to make sure that I've got that 1970s vibe down as much as I can in all in the box digital studio. So I hope that answers your question. Martin says, just sent you a Warren Hewitt video of one of the last vinyl pressing factories in the United States. Very cool video. I think I have seen that one. Yes. Google Docs says, Truckee, let's go take a look. Yeah, I've answered Martin's one there. Skip Jones says, still the lag with Google Hangouts. Yeah, you know what? There's not a lot I can do about that. Unfortunately, folks, it's something we're going to have to live with on my live stream. On Johnny's, that will be completely different because he can use something like OBS really easily. Unfortunately, I can't, because OBS will not work on an upload speed of less than, I think, 2 megs a second is what they recommend. And I have on a very, very good day, when the wind is in the right direction and the atmospheric pressure is exactly right, and all the swans are heavily pregnant, then I might have 2 megs a second. But otherwise, I have 1.2 is what I tested it at today. I've tested it 3 times, morning, noon, and evening, and it's pretty much standard, the same. At best, I get 1.2 megs a second, which is not fast enough to do anything that has any kind of resolution. Kind of a reasonable quality resolution. So my solution to that was to use Google Hangouts as my version of OBS, because I knew that I could get at least 720, and it didn't matter that my upload speed is not very fast because I'm not uploading via an encoder. So there we go. So yeah, we've got lag, and there's not a lot I can do about it. So we are just going to have to, I guess, get used to how I do my live streams as opposed to how Johnny does his. And, I really appreciate the fact that I now have 20 people on this stream, which is the most that I have had on a live stream that I have done on my own. So I really, really appreciate it, folks. From the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate every single one of you coming on and listening to me talk for an hour and answer your questions. It's fantastic. It really is fantastic. When I was experimenting with OBS and Wirecast and trying to get the two to work, it was so frustrating. It was soul destroying. I was just like, for goodness sake, Johnny Gibe can do it. Dave Vignola can do it. Warren Hewitt is doing it. Everybody is doing it and making them look fantastic, and I can't. So I was a little bit down here. I was kind of like, that's how I was feeling. But then it was somebody suggested, it was Rich, I think, Rich Westfall suggested, hey, why don't you use Google Hangouts? Because that automatically streams to YouTube. And I didn't know that. So here we go. I started doing it, and this is, I've called this one the Home Studio Trainer live stream. So I'm effectively doing this for Johnny. But otherwise, this would be episode 5 for my live stream. Skip says, we're just going to have to talk up Johnny's live streams. I appreciate that very, very much, guys. I really do. Don says, Acoustic Sounds in Salina, Kansas is the biggest record plus. I'll start that again. Take 2 and action. The biggest record pressing plant in the United States. They are 40 minutes up the street from where I live, Wichita, Kansas. Awesome. Have you been and seen it, Don? Have you asked them for a tour? Because I would love if you were able to get a video of a tour of that particular pressing plant. That'd be absolutely outstanding. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Martin suggested it beautifully there. Contact them and see if they will allow you to do a video tour. Say that you're doing it for your YouTube subscribers, and then we could showcase it. It would be fantastic. Hey, and speaking of Rich, he's here. Fantastic. Thanks, mate. Good to see you. John Anderson says, I'm with Skip. You answered a key question for me regarding the external drive issue. Just ordered a 1 terabyte 3.0 USB 720 RPM drive, and I'm going to name it Johnny. I appreciate that. You could just name it or you or Gitface. I get called that sometimes. My sister calls me Bogey Blaster, which is hilarious. She's been calling me that since I was like 6. It's so funny. And like, we're in our 40s now, and she still calls me it. Bobby Booth says it all has to do with your internet provider. Yes, it does. It does. And it's not just my internet provider that's the issue. The internet provider are actually not too bad. The issue is to do with the fact that I only have standard broadband in this apartment where we live. I am talking to the people that own the land because they're the ones that got the issue with getting nice high-speed cable broadband in here. I'm discussing with them. It would be great if we could have it, please. It would bring everybody into the 21st century. So I'm talking to them, also talking to BT, British Telecom, and from what they have told me, they are planning to have something called fiber to the cabinet installed just outside of our estate, just kind of out the, if I was to leap out the window, leap out that window, drop to the floor 10 feet or so, and then take a left, and just at the entranceway to the estate, there's a green cabinet there, which all the telephone cables from every flat apartment in this estate goes to. And they are talking about running fiber into those so that we at least get fiber to the cabinet. We'll lose a little bit, but we'll still have faster upload speed, which would be fantastic. So the Rocker says Johnny Drive sure has a ring to it. Yeah, thanks, man. Skip Jones says it's working. Call a show. We'll be here. Well, that's great. That really is great. Dooley says, JL, your videos are great. You've been at this a long time. I had no idea what you offered until I saw them. Well, I really appreciate that. And the fact that you had no idea what I offered until I saw them, that's kind of my fault. I'm not very good at promoting myself. In fact, I suck at promoting myself. It's something I have to work hard at, you know, basically to tell people, hey, I've got these products. I've got these videos. You can watch these videos. And if you like my videos, hey, I'm developing these products. If you would like to, would you like to buy them? And, you know, that's what I need to learn how to do. Was that Skip? Just hack the mother F. Skip Jones. That's hysterical. Martin says, Don, make sure they realize that HST broadcasts all over the world. That's good PR for them as well. Absolutely. Sell it. And Skip retracted that message. You don't have to, Skip. I'm Scottish. You know, kind of swearing is part of our vernacular, mate. Don't worry about it. You don't have to do such things. On my live streams, you know, be careful and all that, because I don't know who's watching. You know, folks, some of my more sensitive clients might be watching. So be careful, but you know, I'm not, you know, kind of like anti colorful metaphors because I use them. Skip Jones says he'll promote Johnny Lipshame. Yeah. What happened there? Because you just retracted that just as I read it. Trucky, do I need to go back to the Google Doc? Have you got questions there? Don says I will contact them and see. I would like to do it. Well, that would be great. Yeah. And you know what? We'd really love it if you did, Don. And then you could either upload, if you have a YouTube channel, assuming you do, you could upload your video there, and Johnny and I will promote the hell out of it, because it would be really educational. Really, really valuable. Any other questions, folks? We've been going for, how long have we been going for? Somebody tell me how long we've been going for, because I'm losing track of time here. We're all caught up. Great. Thank you. And we've been running for a little bit over an hour, and it is now 18 minutes past 1 in the morning here in sunny Edinburgh, Scotland, the greatest country in the world. I'm teasing all my American friends there. I'm going to run just for maybe a few more minutes because I have 18 people watching, and that's fantastic. And I would like to make sure that everybody gets a chance to get a question in there that they might have. Oh, symbol stand in the corner. Oh, you mean that one over there? How much? You want to buy it? I think the cost of shipping would be more than what it's worth, to be honest. I don't know. It's a very, very ancient symbol stand. I've had that since uh, I've had that since about 1989, I think. And it's a hybrid stand. The bottom part is Yamaha, the top part is Pearl. John Anderson says, "Say good night, Johnny, and get some sleep." Yeah, well, I'm doing okay just at the minute. Uh, it's been there for years. It has actually been in that corner for a while, mostly because there's a whole middle section that's missing, so I can't use it with my drum set. I have a Pearl drum set which I've had since 1992. When I got it, it was the first fusion sized drums that Pearl did for their export line. And at the time, I was playing in a jazz fusion band. So we're playing a crossover of bebop, freeform jazz, and funk was what we were playing. It was a unique fusion of those things, and so I needed that kind of drum set. And then I left that band not long after I got that. Would I like a PDF for tonight's questions? Yes, please. Thank you, Truckee. You're a ledge. A very nice ledge, probably overlooking a cliff, probably overlooking the sea, and all of that. On a nice sunny day. Sorry. Dooley says those felts look very worn. Yeah, they probably are. Skip says, "Thanks, Johnny, for all the information. Great show. Talk to you soon." Skip, thank you so much for being a part of this broadcast. You are an absolute legend. And thank you for all of your contributions, your information that you have brought into this broadcast as well. Appreciate it. I also must extend a huge thank you to Truckee Kruger, who is so good at moderating these broadcasts for Johnny Gibe in particular, and also for me. This is the first time that he and I have done this, so this is really great. So thanks so much for doing it. Really appreciate it. It actually helps overcome some of the lag because I can see you typing the questions in real time, more or less, via Google Docs. Which is actually just a little bit faster than the chat, but I also don't want to miss the chat because you get gags and stuff in there as well. And I wouldn't really want you to be constantly copy pasting the gags as well, Truckee. I want you to enjoy the show as much as everybody else. But nonetheless, I really appreciate your valuable service, my friend. So unless there are no further questions, I am going to bring this show to a close. And I'm going to close the show with another song, I think. What shall we close the show with? Let me see. I think I'm going to close the show with this one. It'll take a little minute to open up. So in the meantime, whilst I'm looking at that, I will see if there are any further comments. Truckee nailed it. Yes, he absolutely did. Yep, appreciate it. So let's see, is this opened up yet? Nope. Still loading up. And actually, this might be making the stream go a bit funky. So apologies for that because it's probably slowing down my computer. Oh, yeah, totally. because I can't open Chrome now at the same time as Studio One. Folks, I really must apologize. I was hoping this would open up nice and quickly. But I was forgetting that this actually has quite a lot of VST action going on. So, in fact, this stream might actually be dead. I don't know. I'm going to have to get my phone out and see. See if I'm actually still broadcasting. Gosh. Sorry, folks. A somewhat inauspicious way to end the show. Not what I intended. Sorry, folks. Okay, if we're still broadcasting, and it looks like we are, which is cool. Dooley says, sorry for being stupid. You don't need to be sorry for being stupid. Your gags are great, Dooley. Really. Quite honest. And nobody is stupid here, as Bobby Beers rightly says. Skip says, your viewership is growing with every show. Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate it, guys. Okay, I think we're ready with the song. If you guys are ready for the closing song, we will get to that song. 1 second. I have to do this a bit of a funky way round because of just the way things are. So I will bid you folks a very good night. Thank you so much for coming. And until next time, which will be tomorrow, and hopefully it will still be the Johnny Gibe and Johnny Lipsham songwriting Thursday as it will be. So until then, folks, I will bid you a very good night. Oh, damn it. That wasn't supposed to happen. Sorry, I'm not doing very well at the closing song here.
Grace flashes past the window on the 13th floor. One more sad life crashes, broken by the yearn for more and more. Another spin of the wheel, roll of the dice, or ace on the turn. Beg, borrow, or steal, or trade your soul for bands to burn. In God we trust, says on the bill, from good to bust, may give a thrill, that can steal your life, dominate your goals, make a trouble and strife, seek another soul, yes, little paper daisy. Go and flash the plastic, blowing all on hot girls and wheels. Let's do something drastic. In the morning we'll never feel. Maybe you on Black Wednesday stood for hours outside the Northern Rock. Still hungover from Tuesday. Must we take this banker's cross? In God we trust, says on the bill, from good to bust, make every thrill, make it steal your life, dominate your goals, make a trouble and strife, seek another soul, this little paper daisy. rust. Since I'm built from being rust, maybe a thrill. It's still life. Dominate your goals. Make trouble strife. Seek another soul. This little paper dating. Oh. It's little paper dating.